The webinar is now broadcasting to all attendees. Oh, look at that. And the number of participants is going up. See, I've never done this part before. Well, good morning, everyone. We're going to wait just a minute or two here and make sure everybody's get a chance to get in, I think, and then we'll get started here in just a minute or so. Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure people will join us as as the hour wears on, as more people have a chance to get in. But I think it's worthwhile to get started. And really, it's a pleasure to be here and to welcome you to our virtual Purple and Gold Day this morning. Martin Abraham, as you know, interim president at Western, and really, it's my pleasure to kick this off and appreciate all of you for joining us and participating. I wanted to start off by, I'm just going to give a little bit of a brief story because, you know, every time I've done one of these and we're starting to do more and more of these and recordings where we're getting ready to give things, and we start off on all of these, and I keep getting reminded of back to my youth when, you know, there was this movie that came out that kind of changed the paradigm, and it was a science fiction movie with this young guy, and he was out and he was bouncing around and saving the galaxy, and he had this little saying that I remember from the movie, and it started off with, you know, at this particular point in the movie, it was, "These are not the droids you are looking for." And I keep getting reminded of that sentence because all of the time that we give these presentations and I talk to people over this technology, the sentence I keep using is, "This is not the Purple and Gold event we were expecting." And it just, they just strike me as so much the same and so much the same ideas. And, you know, I keep getting, as I think about that, and I keep getting reminded that, you know, just like we had in the movie, Luke fought through and he beat all the challenges and he came out victorious in the end. And in true Leatherneck fashion, I think we're going to be able to do the same. We're going to beat all these challenges. We're going to get past it, and we're going to come out tougher in the end. And I'm really looking forward to getting out the other side and moving on and having great things looking forwards for Western. For those of you who are kind of new to my experiences, I'm been at Western now almost 10 months. I came in July of last year, and I really had expected to be coming in as the provost. And then when Jack Thomas resigned his position in June, you know, the board asked me to take up the position and be acting president, and then they made me interim president. And that's where I've been since that time. And like I've said and everything else, this is not the year I was expecting. We weren't anticipating any sort of crisis like this. I wasn't anticipating being the president or interim president, and it's been quite a ride for me and quite an interesting experience. And the one thing I will tell you that I'm especially thankful for is I've got tremendous people to work with, and they've really been the saving grace for everything that's gone on and all the challenges that we've had. Is all the wonderful people that I've had. I know on this call we've got Amy and we've got Darcy and Carrie and those folks, and I got a provost and vice presidents and staff that are just phenomenal, and faculty and staff that are out there doing wonderful things and tremendous opportunities and activities for all of our students, and folks that are just working incredibly hard to make sure the university is successful. And I couldn't be more thrilled to be part of that team and to be able to spend some time with that group. So appreciate everything that they've done. As you know, a little bit about our current status. You probably know most of this already. We switched to remote delivery in the middle of March when the governor first issued his stay-at-home order. Most of our students did not come back from spring break. Some did. They picked up their stuff out of the residence halls and went home. Others left their things in the residence halls and went home or stayed home. And we have about 300 students on campus who are living with us because in many cases they don't have a home to go back to. They're international students, some of them, or they have living conditions that really would not work for them in order to be able to continue their studies, or they really don't have internet access at home, or any number of these types of challenges. And so those students are still with us and they're doing fine, I think, in their residence halls. They're taking their classes, they're working on their programs, and they're continuing their studies and doing well. We canceled last week. We canceled all our events through the end of June. Now with the governor's extension of the stay-at-home order through the end of May, that seems to have been a smart decision on our part, but we knew that even at that point that it was going to be very difficult for people to get their programs in place for the end of June without having the proper time to plan. We're hoping that come July, we'll be able to be back open on campus. That's actually a pretty important date for us. We're hoping to be fully open for the fall with programs and activities on campus, and including our fall sports programs. And it's important that we're able to hit that July 1 date, because if our football team is going to be ready to play games starting in September, they're going to have to get out on the field starting in the mid part of the summer and start practicing and doing things like that. If we're not open in the first week of July or so, then we're going to have some real challenges with fall sports. I know the NCAA and the Summit League and the Missouri Valley Conference are all aware of those things, and they're watching these activities fairly carefully, as are we, keeping on top of these events and making sure that we can return to fall safely. And we're not going to do anything that jeopardizes the safety of our athletes or our students, and take care of the health and safety of all of our employees as well. I already did mention that we do plan to be face-to-face in the fall. That's our intention. Now, the question that one would ask is, what exactly does that mean, and what types of parameters are we going to have to operate under? We're not really sure at this point, but I have a number of teams of individuals who are working on those details, trying to figure out exactly what that will look like. We're expecting that there'll be some changes to the way we operate. Smaller class sizes, for example, instead of having lectures of 100 students. Not that we at Western have too many of those in the first place, but instead of having those, we'll split them into multiple sections. We probably will have more online classes than we would have had otherwise, but these will be true online distance learning classes. These will not be the hybrid types of things that we've created fairly quickly in order to allow our students to continue. These will be true online classes developed by faculty who work hard over the course of the summer to get all of their materials prepared. We hope to be able to do testing on campus in case any cases come up, in case we have challenges or issues. We're looking at social distancing guidelines, making sure that our students are able to take care of all of those. other types of things, perhaps lab schedules that have to be adjusted, those sorts of things. So we have a group of folks, a couple of groups of folks actually looking at some of those questions, trying to identify what exactly it means to be face-to-face in the fall and how that's going to look and what all of those issues are going to be. But we do expect to be face-to-face on campus with classes starting in the fall and operating close to what I would consider to be a normal function. A few things that we should talk about that we also have to look at. When the governor did extend the stay-at-home order and as part of the changes in that, we do have the ability now to allow our students to check out of the residence halls. I can't tell you yet exactly what the plan is, but I know that our housing and dining folks have a plan or are finalizing a plan, and we should be communicating that to our students here within the next couple of days. So that part is moving along as well. Few things that you probably have heard about that I just want to make you aware of that touch on a little bit beyond some of the things that we've already talked about. We did refund our student with some room and board fees. We were able to make them a little bit whole for some of the losses that they had there. And we're fortunate that we are getting money from the federal government through the CARES Act that will offset our costs associated with giving back those room and board fees. So we're in good shape as far as that is concerned. For our students who are taking classes online, we did expand our tutoring services in a very substantial way. I think before the March date and the COVID hit, we had about 7 online tutors, and we ramped that up to about 100 online tutors as we got ready over the 2 weeks that we had for spring break. Our Faculty Senate expanded pass-fail options for the students. They will be able to choose to move a course to a pass-fail after the semester ends and after they know what their grades look like. That's a little bit of a dicey proposition because students have to still complete certain requirements in order to be able to move on to the next class. So we've asked the advisors to be very much on top of those processes to make sure our students don't do anything that will harm them, that will maybe help them in the short run, but harm them down the road. We've expanded our counseling center services. They're all virtual, but our counseling center is there ready to help students with any of those mental health challenges that they may have that are out there. Spring commencement will be virtual, May 9th, 10 a.m. Please tune in for virtual spring commencement. And then sometime in the fall, we expect we'll have an actual face-to-face ceremony with students. And I'll get to shake everybody's hands, and as will the faculty and the staff. And this will be an exciting event to refresh and to see everybody once again. Our enrollment continues to move forwards. Right now, all indicators continue to trend in a very positive direction. I got a note from Gary Swegan this morning. He says plus 75 for housing deposits for the fall. So we're doing well. Things seem to be moving in the right direction. I know our admits are up, our registrations are up, and our housing deposits are up. Those are all positive indicators for the fall semester. Of course, the caveat that we really can't predict is what is this COVID epidemic going to do for us in terms of actual students who show up on campus in August, those that have already said they're going to be there relative to those that actually come. So we don't know how that's going to go. We're optimistic, we're hopeful, and we'll see how that works out. A few odds and ends to finish up, and then we'll start taking some questions. First of all, I do want to remind you and thank you all, because one of the things that really makes Western a special place for all of us is the alumni network that we have, the great support that we get from the folks who've come before, and the ability for them and what they do for our students, the sharing that they do to help our students, to make sure that they can be successful, to get them out so that they can continue to do the things they need so they can focus on their studies and be successful. And we really appreciate all the support that you provide for our students, the opportunities you provide for them. I know some of you are out there working with your companies to make sure that our students have internship opportunities. They get good experiences when they go back home. They participate with you in events. we appreciate all of the things that you do in that regard to give our students the absolute best experience that we can in terms of all the things that are going on. I will tell you that we appreciate also any support that you can provide for the students. We did get the CARES Act funding. It's about $4 million that is an emergency aid fund that has to go directly to students. But I'll tell you that as I've looked at that funding more and more and the limitations that it has, the support that we can get from our alumni and friends is going to be critical to making sure that we can help all of our students. The CARES Act funding has restrictions. We can't use it to support online students. We can't use it to support international students. There's other populations that are not able to be supported through those funds. We can use funds that are provided by alumni and donors to support all of our students. And so we're going to take advantage of whatever that you can do to help us out, to help our students out so that we can provide support for everybody. I can tell you our students and their families are suffering. We've gotten word from a number of our students that they've had parents and family members who've passed away because of the pandemic. We're trying to reach out. We're trying to help them to the extent we can. I hear from parents periodically. I got an email from one parent a few weeks ago, said, my family is suffering greatly. We do not have income coming in at all. I have to go to the food pantries for food because we cannot work during this pandemic. We managed to get this family some funds through our emergency funding. Actually, this came in before the CARES Act funding became available. So it was through some funding that we already had in the emergency fund that we were able to utilize. And I got a note from that parent again a couple of days later after I was able to help them out, and said, thank you so much for being sensitive to my family's financial burdens at this time. It means more than you know. These additional funds will most definitely help provide for my family during, as we have said, unprecedented times. Our folks need the support, they need the help, and we appreciate whatever it is that you can do, whatever support that you can provide, whatever it is, whether it's just to reach out to say thank you, whether it's, a check-in on a family or a student. It doesn't matter what it is, whatever you can do that can help the students. And that's the attitude that we've taken at the university. We put a whole team of students together to pick up the phone and try to call every one of our continuing students, doing nothing more than simply saying, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? Is there something we can do to help? Because people need the contact, they need the communication, they need the support, and they need the help. We appreciate it. We know we've got a great alumni network. We know we've got great people out there. We appreciate what you do. We thank you for everything that you're doing. I look forward to talking with you further. I look forward to seeing you all at upcoming events. We know we'll get past this. We know we'll have the opportunity to visit, and we know what we can appreciate all of you again in person. So I thank you, and I will go ahead and we'll start looking at some of the questions and going ahead and answering some of those. There's Amy, I see that you just came back on. I don't know if you want to say something or if you want me to just go ahead and start answering the questions. I've got the Q&A box down at the bottom, and I've got some questions down there, and we can get started with some of those if that's okay.
It's all yours. You can just do it and I will mute myself back.
All right. So this question's come in. It asks, any idea what summer enrollment might look like? The answer is yes. We've been tracking summer enrollment as well. I haven't been looking at summer quite as carefully as I've been looking at the fall, but what I've seen about summer is that it's also tracking reasonably well. You know, summer is going to be all online as well. We're not able to do in-person classes at this point, so we will be doing the all online. But we do summer mostly online anyway. And so the fact that we're all online for the summer is really not much of a change for our students. And I think the enrollment is tracking very similarly to how it's tracked last year. And in fact, it was not too different this past summer than it was even the year before. And so we think we're tracking pretty much the same way this summer, and we'll continue to do that, and we'll move forwards from there. Next question. How are various employment searches coming along, giving the individual the circumstances not being able to come to campus? Well, we figured out a way to do interviews in a virtual environment, and so we're able to move those forwards, and we're continuing to do that. We have a number of searches that we've been looking at. We're searching for a dean in College of Education and Health Sciences. That one is pretty much concluded. We will be going to, we'll be making an offer on that here in the next couple of days. We think we're done on that one. You probably know we hired a basketball coach back about 6 weeks ago. He's done a great job. He's brought in a whole new basketball team pretty much. And so not only were we able to recruit a coach there, but we've been able to recruit a team, and we've got a couple of assistant coaches that I think we're finalizing the hiring on as well. We have a new director for international programs that we're coming up on finishing. We should have that one done here in a couple of days. All of these, you know, enrollment management, same deal, coming up and finishing that one. So the searches have been moving. We've managed to complete them up. We're doing pretty well. I got a question. Any COVID-19 cases on campus? No. Very simple answer, no. I know there are 4 cases in McDonough County, and as far as I know, those are not in Macomb either. So, and none of them on campus. How will money be distributed to students through the funds raised through the Student Emergency Fund? Great question. We actually are putting money into 3 buckets on this, so 3 different ways of giving money out. We have a fair number of students who are Pell eligible, and so these are the neediest students, and we don't get enough Pell money to support all of our students. So we're going to take a portion of the the funding for Pell eligible, and or a portion of the CARES Act funding, and give it to students who have room left against their cap on eligibility. And so that'll be one place that we give money, or would give back some money. We have also a number of students who had jobs and have lost those jobs because because they can't work through the pandemic. And we've identified a large number of those, and we'll be able to give some funding to those students who need that extra support as well. The last group we have is students that have specifically requested funding. There's a form that we've put out on our webpage for an emergency distribution or emergency grant application. And students fill out that form. It's fairly simple. They give us their name, their student ID. They tell us why they need the money. They tell us how much money they need. And then we're able to give them, generally speaking, give them a fair amount of that request directly back. So that's the third way that we've been able to do it. And that covers really all of our students and provides support for all of those folks. I have a question. Do you have a general idea of when the fall in-person commencement date could be? Not yet. We have, we actually went out and asked the students. We had a couple of proposals that we were considering, we're still considering. One is towards the middle of August, just before we start the semester. One is around Labor Day. And one would be in December, right around our normal December graduation. We are in the process of surveying our graduating students. We haven't gotten the results back yet. I think we're expecting the results today, actually, is the deadline for the survey. And so we should be able to make some decisions in terms of how we want to proceed pretty much next week, following week, as we try to figure out the logistics. We may take a little bit longer to make that decision as well. I'm a little nervous, in fact, about the August date and the September date, because both of those cases, I'm not yet sure that we'll be able to come back and have large group gatherings. And so that's a consideration that we have to look into. And it may be a couple of weeks or even a couple of months before we know exactly where that's going to come out, before we want to make a determination that says we can do something in August or September, and make a commitment to doing it there. So we're working on it. We expect to have something here sooner rather than later at this point. I have another question on the Center for Performing Arts. Somebody's asking what's the status on the Center for Performing Arts. Really, it's unchanged. We had a little bit of a slowdown because CBD down in Springfield got a little bit behind as they were impacted by the pandemic as well. We are moving forwards on it again, however, and continuing to move it along at this point. The funding, to the best of my knowledge, is still available, and it's still moving forwards, and we're still working towards getting it done and making good things happen with it. So we expect probably not this fall at this point that we'll get the groundbreaking underway, real groundbreaking with a big hole in the ground and heavy moving equipment, not just the cut a ribbon type that we've done, I guess, twice before. So we're looking forward to continuing that and continuing that along. Next, I have a question about how many students are currently residing on campus and how are their needs being met. We have a little more than 300 students on campus. They've been, it's been up and down a little bit. Students have come. Students actually came back after spring break and settled in at a high point, and then they've drifted off, and some of them have gone home through the 4 weeks or 5 weeks that we've been back in session. But we're about 300 students. They have full access to everything that would be normally available in the residence halls. We do a temperature check with them, and they come in, do their temperature check when they come into the residence hall and get engaged, and we ask them questions about how they're feeling and how they're doing and those sorts of things to make sure that they're okay. Food service is available. They have to take their meals in takeout containers. We don't have them sitting in the cafeteria and eating their meals in large groups. So they go back to their rooms and take their meals back to their rooms. The students, I will tell you, they're still distributed between the various residence halls that we have, because we didn't want to try and gather them together in one place. That would kind of work counter to what we're trying to do with the social distancing. So we've deliberately spread them out across our residence halls, even though we know that that's impacted, number one, their ability to get food, number two, their ability to work together, and number three, our costs, because it takes more of our people to put the students in the distributed halls. But the most important thing for us is that our students are safe. And if we have to spend a little bit more money to make sure our students are safe, we're going to do that, because safety is our number one priority, right after or right next to making sure that our students still get a quality education. So as long as we're able to do those two things, we're confident that we're going to continue to do a great job on behalf of our students. I've got a question about the state budget. That's a great question. I wish I could give you a good answer. We've heard all sorts of rumors about what's going on with the state budget. Back before the pandemic hit, we thought that the budget was going to be positive for us. We were expecting a 5% increase in appropriated funds. Now, given the fact that tax revenues are down as substantially as they are, we don't expect a 5% increase in revenue or in appropriated funds any longer. We keep talking to our legislators, our delegation, and trying to convince them that we need flat funding. that would be very good. If we could get flat funding, we'd be very pleased with that number. We probably won't even get to that level, though. My best guess is we're looking at something in the neighborhood of a 5 to a 10% reduction in higher ed. That's a lot of money for Western. That'll give us a lot of challenges, but we'll figure it out, and we'll do fine. We'll continue to move through it. We've got a very resilient workforce, and they'll pick it up, and they'll do a great job, and I'm confident that they'll do really good work for us, and we'll be successful. So we're get our fingers crossed. If you've got friends in the delegation, put in a plug for Western and let them know we're doing a great job, and we're working hard to educate Illinois students, and we're doing good things on behalf of the population, and great things are going on at Western. So we'll keep moving forwards.
I'm going to read the next one to you because I know you won't read it. You'll skip it. Just a comment. Dr. Abraham has done a great job in his short time at WIU. He quickly became very knowledgeable about WIU and Macomb. Love seeing him out and about on campus and in Macomb. And now I'm muting myself again.
Thank you, Amy. Just an update. I know Gary Swegan is the interim associate vice president for enrollment management, and he sent a note on the Q&A, and he says summer enrollment, we're actually up a few, likely up around 50. So I know somebody had asked about summer enrollment previously, so there's your answer. We're actually up a little bit. But it's, like, as I said, it's trending pretty well. So thank you, Gary. Another question I have is, anything change much after the governor's announcement yesterday, other than you mentioned about students getting to come get their things? And yeah, the answer really is no. For the most part, for us, we're just going to continue along and continue to move forwards. Our students are still here taking classes or at home taking classes, and we'll continue to move things along. The recommendation is for face masks now when you go out in public, so I hope our students will get their face masks and take them with them when they go down to the dining hall to get their meals, and use them when they walk out in amongst the public. But other than that, really, no, we don't have much changes in what's going on in terms of things that we're doing, and in terms of the activities that are going on. The other component, of course, might be our golf course, right? One of the things that we got from the governor is that the golf courses could be open now. So we have that going on as well, and we'll have to figure out what that means in terms of our golf course, and in terms of whether or not we'll be able to have our golf course open, and what social distancing will mean for our golf course and people who want to continue to go out and take care of that sort of thing. I have another question here about, question is, how can an out-of-state alumnus help? You know, one of the things that one of the things that's nice about being in a virtual realm is that distance doesn't matter. And so an out-of-state alumnus can do as much for us as a local alum. And right now we're trying to get all of our alumni engaged and all of our alumni involved. So we have a group of alums that are now engaged with our enrollment folks to support us and to interact with the admitted students, so that they will follow through and connect with the admitted students or registered students, and we don't end up with as much summer melt as they move these along. So if you're interested, it's Phil Nath, who's the member in the Alumni Council, who's coordinating that activity and involved in working those things forwards and moving that activity along. So, you know, we'd love to have you engaged, love to have you involved, and love to have your input, whether you're local to us or you're distant. Participate, get engaged, and get involved. And the other thing, and Amy just wrote this in the chat, and she wrote it to all panelists, so you've all got the opportunity she wrote it to me, I guess, so we can see it here. She says, send students our way. So that's the other piece, is always go ahead and work to send the students and help us talk up the quality and the great things that's going on here at Western, the great activities that we have, the opportunities that we have, and those challenges that we need to overcome. Students can come from far and wide. We take students from all 50 states and 192 countries across the globe, and we're happy to have them. And the more that you can do to send students our way, the better off we're going to be. And we appreciate all of the participation that you can do in order to help us out in that regard. I have a question down here about Western face masks. And the answer to that question is, unfortunately, probably not going to be producing Western Illinois face masks. We've spent a fair amount of time investigating what it would take to produce face masks, challenges that would be associated with it. And really, I know that other organizations and other areas have determined that they can do them, but we've avoided doing it. There are some liability issues associated with producing face masks, people who wear the face masks who believe that it will protect them. And then we're concerned, you know, if they have the face masks on, they go off, they get sick, somebody's going to come back and they're going to give us a hard time over it. We don't want to get engaged in those sorts of things. I know that other people have created Western Illinois face masks. I don't have a problem with that, but official Western Illinois University face masks that we distribute through the university is probably not going to happen. So that's pretty much everything that I've got. I see Amy coming back on.
Because there's another one. Thank you for
okay.
your thank you for your leadership during this difficult time. I think that everybody that's listening right now would agree with that. I also wanted to give you an update, you, President Abraham, and also everybody. As of this moment, the foundation fund for the Student Emergency Fund, it just hit $24,000 as of this moment. So those of you online, thank you, and we're getting there.
Does anybody else have additional questions? Thank you, Jim. Anybody other questions? If we don't have any other questions, then we can wrap up at this point. I just want to say before I wrap up and before I let you all go, I do want to say thank you to everybody. You know, one of the things that I tell you, I've missed, this has not been the semester that I would have expected either. Spring semester, typically between spring break and commencement, is a tremendously busy time for a university president. And I had on my calendar already committed to be at dozens of celebrations, multiple events throughout the state. And of course, all of that has gotten canceled. And I want to tell you, I'm absolutely missing the opportunity to get with you, to be with you personally, to interact one-on-one. And I very much hope that come the fall, we can pick up on having live face-to-face events, and I can get out and visit across the state and across the country and have an opportunity to meet with each of you personally and thank you for everything that you do on behalf of Western. I do have one more question that just came in. It says, will the opening of school be coordinated across the state or individual schools? That's a great question. And I think the answer is probably yes, to some extent. We have a great group of presidents, university presidents throughout the state of Illinois. We talk on the phone every week. We actually, during the heart of the crisis, we were talking on the phone every day. And there were, I think, days we talked more than once in a day. So we do talk every week at this point. And we talk, we interact and try to figure out who's doing what and what the different challenges that we're facing, and communicate back and forth. And we look at the different challenges, and by talking to each other, we see exactly what's going on. And I hear from others challenges they're facing, which allows me to think about things that maybe we haven't thought about at Western. And they hear from me the things that we're doing, which allows them to think about things that they maybe hadn't thought about in their locations. And it allows us to come together and work together to solve problems. And by coordinating across the state, we're able to address uniformly some of these challenges that really all are the same for all of our students. And so we do talk on a regular basis and try to work together to identify the best opportunities for all of us. But we are different universities, and what works for Western may not be the same answer as what works for the University of Illinois or for Chicago State. They're dealing with different challenges than we are. And so we all have to address them from our own unique perspective. But by coordinating and knowing what each other is doing, we're able to provide the best answer for all students throughout the state. So I appreciate the good conversations that we've had. That was the last question that I saw. Like I say, I appreciate the good conversation. Appreciate the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with you. We've had over 50 people participate this morning. So great participation, great interaction. Again, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been engaged and been involved. All that you do on behalf of Western. Continue to talk about us to your friends, to your family, to your colleagues. Let them know that we're doing the right things on behalf of our students. Let them know that our students are continuing to succeed. We're continuing to provide them the resources they need. Let them know that our faculty and staff are fully on board, fully engaged, and doing an absolutely phenomenal job retaining a high-quality educational experience for all of our students, despite the challenges that we have going on here through this pandemic. It's been a very unusual semester. It's been a very unusual time. But just in, as I've said, in good Leatherneck fashion, we're going to get through it. We're going to persevere. We're going to succeed. And really, I think that's one of the things that makes Western a special place. It's our ability to take a challenge and to persevere through it and get stronger because of it. So I appreciate everything that you do as alumni to support us. I thank you for your time this morning. I will look forward to meeting with each of you personally come the fall and the spring next year, and as we are able to get out and about and interact again in a personal fashion. Thank you. Enjoy the events throughout the day. I know we have the virtual happy hour at 6 o'clock. I'm hoping to get and participate in. I have to make a stop at Forgatonia here in town to make sure I have a beverage for the virtual happy hour. And if you're out and about in this community, please make sure you support the community, make sure you get out and you support the restaurants and the facilities around town, because really they're struggling as much as we are at the university, and they need the help as well. And we appreciate everything that they continue to do, support the university also. So thank you all. And it's really been a great opportunity to visit with you. Thank you for everything that you do, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you.